My name is Maria del Mar Navarro. Feel free to call me Maria moving forward. I will be introducing the codices of the School of Huejotzinco as examples of 16th century data visualization, a time period long before the examples of pictorial statistics we currently discuss. I love that term, proto-isotype. I'm going to borrow that soon. So before starting, I would like to acknowledge the students from ASU that are in the audience today who are joining us during their fall break. So I'm really impressed. If there are any of my former students from the U of A, I just want to say that we have you in our thoughts after the horrible event that took place on Wednesday when a professor lost his life after being shot by a student. I wish information design had the power to persuade people on the dangers of weapons based on evidence and accurate information and data. But as we know, that doesn't seem to be enough. Nevertheless, the students that are present, this is a great way to spend your time. So we appreciate you being here. I will begin with a few definitions, a brief introduction of the codices of the School of Huejotzinco, and then I will focus on analyzing one in particular, the Huejotzinco Codex, to explain its use of non-numerical signs and as an example of pictographic numeracy and embedded into the data visualization timeline. To provide context, here is a working definition for data visualization. It is defined as the practice of organizing information into a range of graphic structures, such as tables, graphic charts, and pictorial charts, which is what I will focus on today. Data can be presented in a variety of mediums, including paper, screen, virtual reality. We're waiting for the chip for the brain, right? In still animation, in formats, all types of interactive experiences with and without sound. The category pictographic numeracy is presented as a subcategory of data visualization in which signs such as icons, indexes, and non-numerical symbols or non-traditional non-numerical symbols are used to represent quantities, as in the case of pictorial statistics and pictorial accounting. These signs represent an assigned base number, and then quantities are calculated through the technique of repetition. In regard to pictographic numeracy, we have the Latin root pictus, which refers to pictures, graph as something written, and icus or ic, which connects pictograph to a discipline. Numeracy from the Latin numerus and sia, indicating the art or science of. Thus, numeracy is the understanding of using and reading numbers. Pictographic numeracy, thus, is the study and practice of numerical pictures. As mentioned, this presentation introduces the codices of the School of Huejotzinco into the data visualization timeline within a subcategory of pictographic numeracy. This includes their function for recording and reporting pictorial statistics and pictorial accounting. Current literature credits Michael Mulham, Alan Haskell, Carl Karsten, and Otto and Marie Nerat as founders of the Vienna method, later known as isotype. And we can see that I've included now the work from the Nahua scribes from Huejotzinco into this timeline. The School of Huejotzinco is composed of 4 sets of manuscripts: the Huejotzinco Codex, the Matricula or register of Huejotzinco, the Guillermo Tovar of Huejotzinco Codex, and the Chavero of Huejotzinco Codex. The matricula on the left and the Chavero on the right are examples of census documents. The matricula recorded the names of the citizens of Huejotzinco, while the Chavero Codex kept track of the taxes paid during a specified time period. As a pictorial census, the matricula is composed of anthropomorphic signs or glyphs represented as heads in profile with the corresponding anthropomorphic symbol and a line, or let's call it more of a thread, connecting the lips to the sign, later supported by the text. So here we see an example of Diego Quilluau. Because these signs in the matricula don't report quantities, this set of manuscripts are not included as part of the pictographic numeracy assignation. So before presenting the Huejotzinco Codex, let me share a map of Mexico. Here we can see where Huejotzinco is located in the state of Puebla, southeast of the state of Mexico. So Huejotzinco is still in existence today. During the colonial period, Huejotzinco was composed of approximately 21 annexes or neighborhoods where the Nahua lived and continue to live today, as I mentioned. The Nahua were no strangers to taxation, as we are not today as well, as they paid the Aztecs until Hernán Cortés defeated Montezuma in 1521 and payments shifted to the Spanish crown. So now that we have a brief background, we will look at the Codex of Huejotzinco. We have various types of signs. Some are direct representations of objects, others reference objects or are indexical. And we also have symbols which require cultural understanding to decipher. Through a scan, we can begin to identify patterns in this codex. Our need to make sense of our worlds and reduce our cognitive load is probably at play here, as well as maybe a little bit of gestalt visual perception. Let's take a look at these, what these signs mean. So here we have a pot. These pots refer to pots of liquid amber. Here we have a tip, which refers to darts. This rectangle refers to large mantles, and these circles in these two columns refer to metal coins or ingots. Could be silver or gold. Usually if they were gold, they were painted in yellow. This foot refers to pairs of sandals, and this is an example of how a loincloth was represented. Here there is a banner with a few small squares on the bottom. This represents a banner that was bought for 10 loads of small mantles. We also have images of humans. We have male and female slaves. And this rectangle here with its marks and patterns references a leather-covered chest. Finally, we have feathers here or plumages, which are painted in green in the codex. So now that we have a sense of the categories used in this codex, the numbers that are used to quantify or represent The payments made in the Huejotzinco Codex are focused on these three glyphs. The rest of them are within the manuscripts of the School of Huejotzinco, but for this purpose, we are only looking at these three. The first one, what we're looking at is the repetition of units 1 through 9. So anytime that a number, there was a quantity 1 through 9, the category was displayed and then repeated that many times. We have the pantli or the flag, which is worth 20 units. And we have the zontli, which is worth 400 units. A quick note on the caxtoli, which is worth 15 units. What's interesting is that this is the only region or documents that show the use of the number 15, because except for the caxtoli, units or the system of counting for the Nahua was base 20 or counting in 20s. And most likely this was due to their ancestors counting with their fingers and their toes. So now we'll return to the codex. A little bit of a background on this codex is that the Spanish administrator, Nuño Guzman, wanted to carry a banner of the Madonna in his conquests. There was not enough funding to create this banner, so there were some payments made to acquire the materials. Some of the payments were made with gold, with slaves, with mantles. So there's a combination of payments occurring here. And also another side note is that the scholars believe that this is the first time or the first evidence that we see the likeness of the Madonna in documents created by Amerindians. So in addition to keeping track of payments made for the banner, this document was used for legal proceedings of the Nahua against Nuño Guzman for overpayments of taxes. Not only did the Nahua win the case, the Spanish courts upheld their decision against Guzman's further appeals and was obligated to return a portion of the payments. So not only did this document serve to record and report information, but it was accepted as a formal legal document in court proceedings. Now that we have a sense of the numbering system and its categories, we can start making a few calculations. For example, we know that this is a pot, it's liquid amber pot. We know that this symbol is worth 400 units, so it's a total of 400 pots. The same is the case for the mantles. We have a total of 400 mantles. And then when we start using repetition, we can look at the loincloths. We refer to the pantli. We know it's worth 20 units. So you multiply 20 by 10. And that's how they kept, that's how they quantified their payments. Looking at an example of the Vienna method of pictorial statistics from 1931, we see a similar approach to the representation of quantities through repetition. In this chart on unemployment in 3 different countries and 6 dates, different dates, both the quantity and the category are represented by the icon of a person. Each person is worth 250,000 units or unemployed individuals. A quick scan of this graph shows what country had the least unemployment and overall what the numbers show about the other countries. You know, spending a little bit of time with this chart, I'm sure other relationships could also be identified. Another example is this graph of 1886, which shows pictorial statistics as well, or number pictures. Instead of repetition, what we see here is a difference in size to represent quantities. Here, the icon is a cow. This cow also represents, it's a category for cattle, and that's mentioned in the graph. So it includes horses, sheep, and alike. And it's easy to tell for the most part, I believe, you know, what cow is the largest, therefore where the numbers are higher, where the numbers are lower. However, since this presentation focuses on the historical aspects of data viz, we will not delve into the efficacy and clarity of each method, but that's also a subject that is of interest to me. So this presentation introduced very briefly the Huejotzinco Codex into the data visualization timeline as examples of pictographic numeracy as instruments for reporting statistical data and pictorial data. And to borrow Sue's words, breaking the language barrier. We were dealing with two very different cultures and languages, and it was the idea of the administrators to use pictures to communicate with each other and keep track of very important information. And as this presentation comes to a close, I would like to give credit to Rudolf Motley's book, How to Use Pictorial Statistics. Motley didn't expand much on this image in his book. However, it was sufficient to stir my curiosity, and it was a point of departure for me to identify a gap or an opportunity for further research in the field of communication, visual design, information graphics, and data viz. I would also like to give credit to the NILADS, which is where my research began, and I continue to tap into their legacy. I believe that it would be a great contribution for the fields to include additional examples of pictographic numeracy not seen before. So I conclude with an invitation for others to bring forth similar examples, or perhaps expand on the categories presented here today as part of pictographic numeracy. I can be reached at Navarro@asu.edu. Thank you for your time and attention. Stop sharing the screen.
Thank you, Maria. That was wonderful. And one book that made me interested was, well, when you were talking, have you seen Visible Writings by Del Bello and Shaw?
I don't recognize that name.
Check it out. It might actually help you with all sorts of things.
Let me write that down.
It has got some, I think, Mexican examples in it. It's certainly got some, again.
Can you show us the cover?
So it's just blue.
Just blue.
How pretty. You called it again Visible Writings or Invisible Writings?
It's called Visible, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah. Visible Writings by Del Bello and Shaw.
Thank you, Sue. As always, you are always full of wonderful information that has helped me tremendously. She's the woman. She's been fantastic. Thank you, Sue.
Well, that's very kind. I'm just hopeless at technology, basically. That was great. That was absolutely great. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Look forward to talking further about this.
Great. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I love the currency. Can't wait to pay in slaves.
Yes. Interestingly, I sort of skipped it. I'll just say it real quick. So the slide with the I don't know if I still have it here or not. I just want to, let's see, just real quick. Let's see, let me bring back up the. So notice that for the slaves, they're using the technique of repetition of 1 unit because the male slaves count to 8. And even though the female slaves on the last line are a total of 12, there are a dozen, they are dressed in different clothing to reflect a different region. And it so happens that it is 6 in each group. So that's a good example of repetition. Just wanted to show that real quick.